Well, President Biden is kicking off the presidential election year with a new USA Today Suffolk University poll showing key voting groups that helped him win in 2020 are leaving him behind in 2024. Biden losing support among Black, Hispanic, and young voters. In fact, among Hispanics, Biden has 34% support compared to former President Trump, who's got 39% support. Similar story for those under 35. 33% of those younger voters support Biden compared to 37% that support Trump. And among Black voters, just 63% support the president now. But that's compared to the 87% who backed him back in 2020. I want to bring in now former Trump campaign communications director, Axiom Strategies and GOP strategist, Erin Perrine, and Democratic consultant and former House Judiciary Committee Chief Counsel, Julian Epstein. It's great to have you both here. Actually, Julian, I want to start with you on this because this is a problem for President Biden. And Erin, obviously, I'm going to get you to weigh in as well. But Julian, this is a problem for President Biden from a numbers perspective for the 2024 election, losing that much support with Black voters.
I don't think there's any question about it, Cheryl, and good morning, and thank you for having me. Happy New Year. I don't think there's any question about that. I think there's no ability to sugarcoat it. Voters don't like what they are seeing with the Biden economy. They think most have gotten poorer given inflation and interest rates. They don't think Biden is capable to manage the country anymore, and that's showing up in the numbers. I hate to say that. I voted for Biden, but I think there's no way of talking point your way around that. But what the Suffolk poll is showing is that there is a major problem with the White House having relied far too much on sort of the progressive left. The progressive left has wanted to pander to Hispanics with open borders. We've seen now a huge hemorrhaging of Hispanic support. Biden won 65-35 and 220. Now in a three-person race, Biden is losing the Hispanic vote. With Black voters, you've seen sort of DEI quotas almost every place you turn, and we're seeing a loss of Black support in the double digits, 20 and 25% in some polls. With young voters, Biden won huge with young voters. The pandering with the student loan giveaway and sort of the government welfare for young voters through the student loan forgiveness is not working. Biden is also losing to young voters in the three-person race. And you see this across the board with independents. You even see a loss of support with women voters. So I think what has happened is the attempt of the White House to sort of pander to these different voting groups throughout the first 3 years of the presidency has not worked, and there really needs to be a major course correction. The White House has got to stop listening to the far left and start going much more to the political center, build an economy that's based on the private sector, not government jobs, close the borders, or secure the borders, rather, and build a philosophy that is based on equal opportunity and not equal outcomes. And I think until the White House makes that course correction, you're going to see problems with all of these numbers.
Erin?
I think Julian was really spot on there. And to his point about the White House continuing to pander, they are already out there knowing that these polling numbers were coming, knowing that Joe Biden is losing that base of support that was a key coalition to him winning in 20. They are now going to be targeting minority communities, the White House doing more outreach to try and shore up and bring those voters back on board. But another point here, when you look at this polling, isn't that Donald Trump is building more within these coalitions. We've seen slight movement, but it's not like these voters are leaving Joe Biden and going to Donald Trump. Especially with Black voters, they're looking at a third-party candidate as a possibility there. That's a spoiler for Democrats if that is the case come the 2024 election here. If there is a third-party candidate that is pulling their coalition voters away, that is really not a direct vote for Trump, but a passive vote for Trump, because taking those votes away from Biden softens his support and just strengthens the ground that Donald Trump is standing on. And the Democrats have to look at a major enthusiasm problem because of the political pandering they have been doing for so long to try and keep voting blocks intact at the behest of the progressive left. You are seeing that enthusiasm and high enthusiasm for Joe Biden is very low. But you see for Donald Trump that when people are asked, you're looking at 44% of the voters, likely voters for Donald Trump, are saying they are at a 10. They will run through a brick wall to show up on Election Day and make sure their vote is cast. This is we're looking 10 months out. There's a long runway to Election Day, but sirens should start going off in the White House and certainly for the president's reelection to start making moves now if they think they've got any chance in November.
Yeah, well, and also, too, I'm glad that you brought that up, Erin, because a former top Obama advisor, David Axelrod, is warning against removing Trump from the primary ballot on Friday. Here's what he had to say. I want you to watch this.
He's only gained since he started getting indicted. What you thought might be kryptonite for him has turned out to be battery packs. And this is a big one for him. Presumably the Supreme Court will deal with it fairly quickly. And I expect that they will leave him on the ballot. I do think it would rip the country apart if he were actually prevented from running, because tens of millions of people want to vote for him. I think if you're going to beat Donald Trump, you're going to probably have to do it at the polls.
Julian, you've said that Maine's Secretary of State Shanna Bellow's decision to remove Trump from the state's primary ballot was actually a terrible decision. Tell me about that, and obviously your reaction to Axelrod's comments, that all you're doing, it seems here, is galvanizing his base, galvanizing his supporters.
Yeah, well, this recalls Thomas Sowell's famous line, which is, some ideas are so stupid that only elites and intellectuals would believe in them. The idea of removing Trump from the polls under the 14th Amendment, I think, is wrong from a legal point of view. There aren't any clear standards of what insurrection is. There was no due process. It probably does not apply to candidates for presidency. But as a political matter, it just seems impossible for me to understand and to argue how Democrats can say they are defending democracy while trying to take what is the front runner, not just the Republican front runner, but the front runner for the presidency right now off the ballot. I just think that argument doesn't square, and they are not winning the argument according to the polls.
We'll let the voters
on protecting democracy right now.
Let the voters decide. I mean, this is why you have elections. I mean, let democracy play out.
Yes.
I mean, that's the biggest argument I think I've heard. But real quick, Erin, before you go, we've got 2 weeks until Iowa, 3 weeks from New Hampshire. How are you feeling? What are your predictions? I mean, this is make or break for Chris Christie and Nikki Haley. It's make or break for DeSantis. What are you saying? What are you seeing? Excuse me.
Yeah, well, caucus is an anomaly, and it is no other political institution. So it's always really hard to be predictive, especially when it comes to how a ground game can affect voter turnout and outcome at caucus. But it's clear Donald Trump has a commanding lead in polls. And right now you're looking at what the difference is going to be between first place, second place, and third place. If you're looking at second and third, and you're looking at DeSantis and Haley maybe sitting there in Iowa, how close is the distance between the two of them? Or how close do they get to Donald Trump as the front runner? And that will be the springboard into New Hampshire, because that's a state that would favor a candidate like a Nikki Haley versus an Iowa, which would favor a candidate more to the tradition of Ron DeSantis. If you end up with a big disparity between second and third and you go into New Hampshire, you're going to see not only maybe some folks drop off before New Hampshire, but you're going to see that that's going to help maybe move some polling when it comes to that. And then when you start looking at South Carolina, you're going to see a big drop off, because in New Hampshire, there are a lot of people that are riding on that state. Vivek, Christie, Nikki, all need to do very well in New Hampshire to try and make it into South Carolina and on to Super Tuesday.
Yeah, no, Chris Christie has put all of his eggs in the New Hampshire basket. He joined me on the program a couple of months ago and was very honest in saying it was New Hampshire or nothing. So we'll see. Erin Perrine, Julian Epstein, it's great to have you both here. Here we go. Elections 2024, guys. Appreciate it. And we will be right back.
Thank you, Cheryl.